Managing failover cluster. The most common management task of managing the failover clusters are including like managing the nodes. Managing the nodes, that means the nodes we have in the cluster, we should manage them properly. We have to make sure that the server nodes are running, and if suppose something happened to the nodes and it goes down, then the other node will take over, but we have to make sure that node is back to track again, and it will enable again. Managing network is to, you have to manage the network properly. You have to have a separate network for the storage and the other traffic. So we have to properly configure and manage the network, and we have to make sure the network is always available. Then we have to manage the permission properly for configuring the roles, configuring cluster quorum settings also. We have to properly configure the quorum, and it makes sure that quorum is available. Migrating services and application to a cluster. Migrating, that means if services are configured on one server, so we can migrate it from the other server to the other server also. Configuring new services and application, we should know, and removing the cluster also. So first, configuring the properties, cluster properties. There, the three aspects of managing cluster nodes includes are adding nodes after you create a cluster, pausing the nodes, and which prevents resources from running on that node, then evicting the nodes from a cluster, which removes the node from the cluster configuration. So this is the three main aspect of the configuration. So what we do, we should add the nodes. Like suppose we have started the cluster with only 2 nodes, now we want more nodes to be added, so we can add the nodes from there. Then we can pause some nodes, which prevents the resources from running on that node. Like we can just pause the node, we just want to stop the node from working from the cluster, so we should know how we can pause it. Then we can evict the node, like if we want to remove the node from that cluster, so first we have to evict the node properly, so that it will remove all the configuration, all the services from there. Configuration tasks are available in the action pane of the failover cluster manager console, or even we can use the PowerShell to manage the cluster also. Then configuring failover and failback. Failback. During the failover, the cluster instance, all associated resources move from one node to other node. That means if suppose one node fails, then what happens? The resources which is handling by that node will move to the other node. That is what the failover. It is called failover. So when failover occurs, the node that hosts the instance become inactive for some reason, whatever the reason, or there are many reasons. So one of the resources within the instance fail, and administrator perform a failover. So administrator perform a failover, like moving the resources from that host to other server, other node. The cluster services can fail back after the offline node becomes active again. Now if suppose the server get back, then the services which was running on that node can be back. It can come back, and then it will run back to that server again. That means what? It is called fail back. So failover can be planned or unplanned. Planned, that means when we want to suppose we want to do something on that particular node which is running the services and application, so we do the failover thing. We do the failover, that means we move all the resources from that server node to other server. That is, we can say it is what the planned failover. It is not a unplanned, it is what planned failover. We are moving the services, we know what we are doing. But unplanned, that means something happened to our server node which is hosting those services and application. It is corrupted or destroyed, or something happened to that node, and automatically the services will move from one server, that server, to the other node. Then it is called the unplanned failover, and that is why we configure the failover cluster. Then configuring the storage. Storage configuration task in failover cluster includes the adding new storage spaces, adding the storage spaces, adding a disk to available storages, and to the cluster storage, CSV, cluster storage volume, and then taking a disk offline, bringing the disk back online. These are the tasks we do for the configuring of storage. Then configuring the network. So configuring the network, there are networks. These are the different network we have in the cluster. Public network. Public network, that means the clients use this network to connect to the clustered service. It is called the public network, or we can say it is a client network. Then private network. Private network, that nodes use this network to communicate with each other. That means the network which is used by the nodes to send the heartbeat to each other. And we can say public and private network, where when we can require to communicate with external storage systems, so we can use the public and private network. So we have these three type of network. One is for the client, other one is for the nodes to send the heartbeat, and the third one is for the storage. Now one network can support both client and node communication. That means one network, we can configure only one network for both, like client communication and node communication. Node communication, that means the heartbeat of the nodes. So we can configure one network for both the traffic. Multiple network adapters are recommended for enhanced performance and redundancy. So we should use multiple network adapter instead of using single adapter. So it will provide the performance, good performance, and also provide the redundancy. iSCSI storage should have a dedicated network. So what you can have a single network for this public private traffic, that means the client and the node traffic, but for the storage we should have, or we must have, a dedicated network. So we have to configure the network according to that, and also it is recommended to have multiple network adapters so that it will enhance the performance and also provide the redundancy. So if network adapter fails, one adapter fails, then still we can get the network from the other adapter. So this is our cluster, and it is running properly, where we have two nodes and we have configured one service also. We have this role file server role running on the cluster. Server 2 is handling the role. Then we have two nodes here. Then we have storage. We have these two disks here. So we can do the management tasks, like for example, when you select the cluster here, then in the action pane you can see these, what you can do. You can do configure the role, you can do validate the cluster again, you can see the validation report again, and then you can add the new nodes. So if suppose we want to add new node, so we can add it from here. We select it, it opens the wizard, and then we have to add the server name here, and then it is going to validate the server, and then it can add it into the cluster. So we can add new nodes from here. Then if you want to configure the role services, then you can configure it from here. You can select to configure the role, or you can go to roles and to see what roles are there, and then you can manage the roles. You can configure the role from here also. Then to manage the role, you can select the role what you have added here. Then in the action pane you can see management of that particular role. This is the management of that particular role. You can stop the role, you can add the file share, because it is a file server role, so it is for the sharing of the files. So you can use this to add new shares. Then you can use this to move the share from move this role from one node to other node. This is what failover or failback, that if suppose you want to do the planned failover, then what you will do, you will move manually from here to the best possible node, or you can move it to the selected node. Then you can change the priority also for this particular role to run first or last. Like if you have configured multiple role in the cluster, so what role will get the more priority, more resources, you can configure here. You have high priority, medium priority, or low priority, depending on the other roles you have. Then you can see the critical events of this role. Then you can add new storage for the role. You can add the resources here. You can more action, you can do add more things here. You can remove the role services. You can check the properties. This is the property of this role. It is saying that perform the owners. Who is the owner? It is not decided here. Right now it is running by server 2. For failover, maximum failover in the specified period is 1, and period is 6 hours. That means within the 6 hours we can afford maximum failure of 1. you can change this. It is preventing the failback. Preventing the failback, that means if service goes from one server to other server, then when the server come back, then the service will go back to the previous server or not. For example, right now the service is running, the service role service is running on server 2. Now if server 2 fails, then automatically it will do failover and it will go to server 3. Now when the server 2 comes back active, when the server 2 get active, then the service will come back to server 2 or not. It will keep running on server 3. That will decide here. When it is saying, by default it is saying prevent failback, so it will not do the failback. That means if it is goes to server 3, then it will keep running on server 3 whether the server 2 come back or not. Now if we select this allow failback, then we can decide immediately or failback between this and this, like within this time or this hour. So we can decide that how the failback will work when you allow the failback. Now failback means what? When server 2 goes down, the service will go to server 3. Then when the server 2 comes back active, then what? The service will go back to server 2 again, and that is called failback. So how? We have to allow it, and immediately, that means immediately when the server 2 is active, the service will come back to server 2, or we can decide how long or how much time it will take. So this is the role services where the nodes are here. We can see the nodes are here. We can add the nodes, new nodes directly from here also, or we can manage the node also. We can select the node to see the information here. This is the summary information of the node detail. We can see the connection information. We can see the roles here. Right now roles are not there. Roles are running on this server too. So we can see role is running here. Disk, we can see which disks are connected. Pools is not there. We have not configured any storage pool. Physical disks are not. It is also there, not there, because we are using the shared storage. Then what we can do, we can select the node, then we can get the option for the node here in the action pane. Like we can pause the node, we can resume the node, we can remote desktop, we can take the remote desktop for the of the node, we can check the critical events of the node, or we can see more actions. We can stop from the cluster service and we can evict it from the cluster. We can remove it completely from the cluster. Then for the storage, we have these disk options, where we can see the disk, available disk here. We can remove, we can add more disk here. If we are having some more disk, so we can add more disk here. It is saying no disk suitable for the cluster is found. So it will automatically found the shared storage disk if it is connected to the servers. If the shared disk is connected to server 2 and 3 both, then it will automatically detect and we can select it to add here. Now if you select the disk here, then you can see the information here in this side, and also in this side you can see the management things. Like in the action pane, you can see this is the cluster disk 1. It is already online, but we can make it offline. We can add to a cluster shared volume also, that is CSV, that is shared by the cluster. Then we can use to see the critical events. We can do the replication, like we can replicate the data from one storage to other. We can do more action here, like turn on the maintenance mode, show dependency report, simulate the failure. We can simulate the failure also, like what happens if the disk fails. Then we can assign another role also, and we can remove it. We can see the properties also. And in the properties we are seeing what is this, what it is depending on, what policies it is having here. We can change some policies here. Advanced policies are also there, and show shadow copy is for the backup. Then we can create the storage pool also. Storage pool, that means it is like a storage pool we create in Windows Server directly we can create here also. If suppose we are having the cluster aware storage, like we are having the shared storage available multiple disks, then we can combine those disks here and create the pool. We can add the storage pool directly from the server, or we can create the new pool, and that from that pool we can create the mirror volume, red 5 volume or strip volume, and that volume we can use to create to store the roles, store the role data for the roles and services. Then networks, we have the networks here. There is two networks available here, and we can see the first network is for the cluster and client, and the other one is for the data. So we can see the summary here. This is the network 10, and this network we have used for the data, and data means you have to have the storage network must be separated, and it is not used in it is saying none, it is for the data. This network is used for the cluster, it is used for the cluster nodes and also for the clients. And when you select these networks in the action pane, you can see here the options like critical events. You can see, you can check the properties also. And this is what the events, this is the events we have. So whatever happened to our cluster, we can see the events here, all the events generated here. You can check the events that what happened to our cluster. So this is what the management task we have. Now suppose I want to add the new storage here, a new disk here. So what I have to do, I have to first make the storage available with both the nodes. Both the nodes, that means both the nodes must have the storage available, connected, shared storage. So for example, I will create one more SCSI disk, and then I will connect the disk to this storage, these two servers, and then I will add that to this disk, this storage here. So first I will create a new storage disk. So our storage is coming from this server 1. So I will create new disk here also. So I will go to file and storage services, iSCSI. We have already shared these two disks. One is for the quorum and the other one is for the data. So I will create one more now, new. And this will be also for data 2. Data 1 is already there. This will be 10 GB. Now you want to use the existing one, existing target. I will create new target, and the name for that will be data 2. But I will use the same IQN, like I will use these server 2 and server 3. I will add both server 2 and server 3 here, so that both these servers can have an access of this target. So I am adding server 2 and server 3 both. I am not adding any security, and then create. So it is now created. Now I have to make sure that this new disk is also connected to the server 2 and server 3. It will be automatically connected. Let me try. If I refresh here, because these other are also connected, so this will be also connected. Okay, let's try to connect it from server 2 and 3. Now this is server 2, and I will do what? I will go to iSCSI initiator, and I will refresh here to discover the new target. Okay, so this is the new target we have, data 2. So I will select that and connect it. And now this one is also connected. So this is also connected on server 2. Now I will check it here on the disk management. Now under the disk management, this is the new disk we have. So I will make it online, initialize it, and I will make a volume because we want to use it. Okay, so it is connected to this server 2. Now I will go to server 3 and connect it there also. Now this is server 3. Here also I will go to iSCSI initiator, refresh to discover the new target. This is the new target. Connect it. It is also now connected. I will go to disk management to make it online. It is already formatted, it is already having a file system. Now this one is I will make it online here. Now the one which is already used in the cluster, these two is already under the cluster, so it is saying reserved. Reserved, that means we can't manage it from here, we can't manage it from disk management because it is already added into the cluster. Now this one is not added. Right now we have added this new share. It is not added to the cluster, so it is not saying reserved. Now we are going to add that also into the cluster. So we'll go to cluster manager. So this is our cluster manager, and now here under the disk, what I will do, I will try to add the new disk into this cluster. So I will select add new disk, and now you can see the disk is there. It is showing the disk 3 here, which is of 10 GB capacity. So I will say okay, I want it, and now it is added into the cluster, and this is also now available, this disk 3. So this is how we can add the new disk into our cluster, and we can use this new disk to store a new service role. Right now the disk is already used. This disk is already used for this services, file server services. We can use this disk to use for the other services or other roles. So these are the management options or configuration options we have, the properties we have for the cluster, different cluster components. Next is maintaining failover cluster. Now maintaining failover cluster, for maintaining it, first you have to monitor it. So monitoring the failover cluster, monitoring it so that you will know that what is happening to the cluster. This is very important. So you always monitor your cluster, that what is happening to your cluster. So tools you can use to monitor the cluster, including the event viewer. Event viewer will show you the events related to the cluster so that you can be aware about the cluster, that what is happening to the cluster. You will get the detailed report. Then you can use the traceapt command also. This is the command line tool which you can use to monitor the cluster, is it working not. Then you can use the MHTML formatted cluster configuration report. So you can see the configuration report about the cluster also. Then you can go to the performance and reliability monitor snap-ins. Performance monitor to check the performance of the cluster nodes, and also reliability monitor you can check reliability monitor snap-in to see what errors it is having and which date it is having and how it is working. So these are the different tools we can use to monitor the cluster. Then backing up and restoring the failover cluster configuration. Now when backing up failover cluster, remember that Windows Server Backup is a Windows Server 2016 feature, and none Microsoft tools are available to perform the backups and restores. So you must perform the system state backup. So if suppose we have configured the cluster with including some 2-3 nodes, so we have to take the backup also. Now if you want to take the backup with the cluster configuration, then we have to take the backup of system state. So system state backup will take it the system state backup of that particular node, including the cluster configuration also, because there is no tool available to take the backup of the cluster configuration. So for the configuration of the cluster, if you want to take the backup, then we have to take the backup of the system state on all the nodes, and we can use Windows Server backup to take the backup, and then we can restore it also if we have a problem. Then a non-authoritative restore completely restores a single node in the cluster, and an authoritative restore restores the entire cluster configuration to a point in time. Now when it comes to restore the cluster configuration, so cluster configuration, when we try to restore, so there are two types of restoration are there, non-authoritative and authoritative. Now in the domain, same as for the Active Directory also. So when you take the Active Directory backup, same you have to take the system state backup for Active Directory. And when you come to restore the backup, then you have to make sure that you want to do the non-authoritative restore or you want to do the authoritative restore. Now non-authoritative restore will work when you have a single node. When you have a single node failure, you want to restore the configuration for the single node, or if in case the Active Directory and you are having a single domain controller. So non-authoritative restore will work, and it will restore only the node cluster, single node. But if you have multiple nodes and you want to restore the whole cluster, then you have to do the authoritative restore. Now this authoritative restore you will see in the later lectures. Now for maintaining failover cluster troubleshooting techniques are there. We can use the validate configuration wizard again after configuring the cluster also to check what is wrong in our cluster and what what problem we have. We can review the events in log, the cluster hardware and storage related. Then we can define a process for troubleshooting failover cluster, reviewing storage configuration, checking for groups and resources failure. Then for managing the cluster network traffic, heartbeat traffic, we have a type of network monitoring is aggressive and relaxed. We can do the monitoring of the network. You can network monitoring parameter settings are there. We can use delay or threshold. Now aggressive will do what? The monitoring, aggressive monitoring, that means it will monitor everything. Relaxed will do monitor only the errors. Then here in the parameters we have delay and threshold. Delay will do what? Delay monitoring. Threshold will do what? Based on the threshold it will do the monitoring. Now here in the PowerShell command line you can run this command, get the cluster with the full setting, but you want to see only subnets. Where get cluster, we can run the same subnet threshold is equal to 10. This will do what? It will change the subnet threshold. So we can do this, we can check the cluster subnets, and then also we can change the subnet threshold also by using this command. Then cluster aware updating. Now what is cluster aware updating? It is what we know that whenever we have the Windows servers, they require updates. So every time and time they get the updates, the feature updates, security updates. So those servers gets the update. Now when we install the updates in Windows Server, then what happens? We have to reboot the server, and that reboot will do what? It will do the downtime. It will do the downtime. Now when the cluster is running, the node, the server is running into the cluster, in the cluster, then if it is restarted, then it will do what? It will make the cluster cluster feels that the server is down. When the server restarts, the cluster feels that the server is down and it will start moving the resources. Now we have the cluster aware updating here. It is automatic feature in Windows Server 2016. We don't have to do anything. It updates the node in a cluster with minimum or no downtime. That means the services which is running on that cluster will not get any downtime. So it will update the server one by one, so that the services will move easily from one server to other server, and the servers will also get the update. So it is a benefit. The benefits of this is updating is automatic and can be scheduled also. We can schedule also, and it will not have any downtime. Now how it works, how this cluster aware update works. So it works in two modes. First, remote updating mode, and then self updating mode. In remote updating mode, configure a separate computer as an orchestrator and install the failover clustering administrative tools there, and ensure that the orchestrator computer is not a cluster member. So it is what a remote updating. Now what that means, we install the cluster administrative tool into another server which is not a member of the cluster, and then from there we can use to update the cluster, update the cluster nodes. So we install the administrative tools in a separate server. We can do that from the add and remove roles and features. Then ensure that the orchestrator computer is not a cluster member. That means the cluster, the server which is where we are using to update the cluster will not be a member of the cluster. So it is called remote updating. Now self updating, that means we configure the cluster aware update clustered role as a workload, and ensure that there is no dedicated orchestrator computer. Remember that cluster update itself. So we do what, we update the cluster from the cluster itself, and all the servers in the cluster will update automatically and update itself. Now for doing this, we have to do this. We can use a separate server from where we can administrator the cluster. For that, we install the administrative tools in that cluster, that server. We can go to add and remove role features, and then we can go to features where we have this option to remote server administration tools, and in that we have failover clustering tools also. So we install this tool in the third server which is not a member of the cluster. Then we can use this cluster aware updating to update the cluster. So for example, this is not a this is a server 1, and this is not a member of the cluster. This server is out of the cluster. Now what I will do, if I check here, so there is no tool here for cluster failover cluster management. There is no failover cluster management tools is available here. Now this tool will come when we install the failover cluster feature into the server, but we don't want to install the feature. We don't want to use this server in the cluster. We want to use this server to manage the cluster. So what we can do, we can go to add and remove roles and features, and then what we do, we add only the administrative tool. So I'll go to next, not in the roles, I will go to features, and in the features you have an option to select remote administration tool. So here we have a remote server administration tool where we get the remote administration tool for multiple other roles. We have the tools for features, we have the tools for roles. So if you select the feature, because the failover cluster is a feature, so you have these failover clustering tools here. So you select this, it will provide us the failover clustering tool, only tool. It will not provide the feature here. This will do what? It will do include the failover cluster manager, snapping, the cluster aware updating interface, and the failover cluster module for Windows PowerShell. Additional tools are the failover cluster automation server, the failover cluster command interface. So I will go next, and then I am going to install this here. And it is going to take a little time to install. Now it is installed, so I can close it from here, and now when I go to tools, I can see here failover cluster manager, and I can do what? I can manage the cluster from here. It is opening the failover cluster management console. So this is the management console here. Right now it is not showing any cluster here, but we can connect the cluster. We can connect the cluster if you know the name of the cluster. Now we can see the cluster is here. So we can now manage the cluster from here. We don't have to go to that nodes to manage it. we can manage the whole cluster from here. Now not only managing the cluster, we can do update the cluster. So what we can do, we can go for this cluster aware updating, and from here we can update the cluster. First we have to connect the cluster, so we have to mention the name of the cluster and connect, and it is now connected, and now it is saying there are two servers are there and there is not available, the current status is not available. So we can check apply updates to this cluster, we can do preview the update of this cluster, we can see the preview. What is the cluster update situation here. Now it will take a time here, it will take a time, but right now my servers are not connected to internet, so they are not going to be updated. So if it is connected to internet, then we can go on to configure the update here. We can select, we can go for updates here, you can see the requirement before updating the cluster. We can go on to select updating run option based this, it is going to run from this parameter, you can configure the parameter, it is going to save here, and based on this parameter it is going to be update. And now we can say update, but it is not going to update here because my servers are not connected to internet, so it is not going to update. But we can update it for it like this, we can see the updates, it is available, we can see the log of the process also. So this is how we can do the cluster aware updating, which is won't required, which will not provide the downtime also. So when it is connected to internet, then you can see how it is updating, successful or failure, and all is like this. Then troubleshooting a failover cluster. First, communication issues. The following might cause communication issues in failover cluster. First, network latency, network failures, network adapter driver issues, firewall rules, and security softwares. So these things can cause a problem here with the communication. We can do that. You can use the get cluster log command line to generate the log file for troubleshooting located in this folder. So we can run the command get cluster log to generate the log. So this PowerShell command will do what? It will generate the log for the current situation. So if suppose you are facing any problem here related to communication or something, so you can generate the log right now and then go on to see this directory. You will see the cluster.log file which is stored into this directory after running the command, and then you can scrutinize that file to see what is happening and what is the problem there. Then repairing the cluster name object in the Active Directory services. Remember, when we create the cluster, so the name of the cluster is added into Active Directory. So in this, if it is a problem, if it is having a problem and it is not resolving the name, so it will, if it is having a problem of the account, name account in the Active Directory, then it will give a problem to have authentication problems. So user will not able to access the services and roles, they will say permission deny or not authenticated or something. So you have to fix the account, you have to repair the object, the account name of that cluster. It is called the cluster name object. And how to repair it? Use the repair Active Directory object option in the failover cluster manager. So in the failover cluster manager, you have an option to repair the Active Directory object. You must have reset password permission to on the cluster name object, computer object. Then also you must have the reset password permission. You have to have a reset permission on that object. That means the account which you are running this repair Active Directory object, that account must have the permission to reset the password of that cluster name object in Active Directory. Then the virtual computer object repair process. Now if you are having a virtual computer using a cluster node, then use the AD recycle bin feature to recover deleted object computers. So if suppose the account is deleted, then we can recover it from the recycle bin of Active Directory and use the repair function as the latest recovery action. Then cluster name object will reset the password and itself heal automatically, and the cluster name object must have create computer object permission on the virtual computer object or OU. So also it need a permission to have an Active Directory permission to create an account. So it will reset the account, it will refresh the, it will reset automatically. This is our Active Directory server, and when we create cluster, so under Active Directory users and computers, the account for the cluster is created. This is our domain. In the computer OU, we have, this is the account for the cluster object, cluster name object. Now we can do what? We can reset the account from here. Now it will do automatically reset the account, and it can do what? It can reset the password also for the account. So sometime if the linking of the account is failed, then sometime it gives you the error related to Active Directory. So you should reset the account from here. Now starting a cluster with no quorum. We can start the cluster without a quorum also. Cluster nodes must retain the quorum for the cluster to work. Remember, quorum is what? The witness to run the services and role in the node. Now if the nodes are not getting the quorum, then they will not start the services or role. But still, what we can do, we can start the cluster without the quorum. So if quorum is lost, try to re-establish the quorum, and if you cannot re-establish the quorum during the extended period, start the cluster in the force quorum mode. And after you start the cluster in force quorum mode, other nodes can rejoin the cluster, and once quorum is re-established again, cluster mode changes from force quorum to normal automatically. So when joining nodes to the cluster in force quorum mode, you should start the other node with the setting preventing the quorum. So sometime if suppose your quorum is missing, if it is not connecting and you don't know where it is, then what? And it will take a time to rejoin the quorum. So what you can do, you can start the cluster without a quorum. You can start with the force quorum mode, and then when the quorum is available, then it will automatically go to the normal mode. So reviving the cluster log files, we can use this command get cluster log and the destination you want to generate the log. By default it goes to that location, and if you want to get the log in the other location, then you can run this with the destination option to get the logs into the different location, and you can see the log there, and then you can open the log to see the detailed information. So this is our cluster. So what I will do, I want to get the logs, so I will go to PowerShell. And I want to get the log on a specific directory. So I will I want to get the log on this directory data. So what I will do, I will run command get cluster log, and destination is under C drive data directory. And when we run this command, it will generate the log, and it will generate the log in this directory. And we can go to the directory, we can see the logs, what is happening into the logs and that. So now it has generated the log for these two servers, server 2 and server 3, and it is generated under this directory. So we can go and verify that. We can check the directory, we can see these two logs, we can open the log, and we can see the detailed information here. So if anything is having a problem here, then it will see the log, you can check the log, it will show you the problem there. Then monitoring performance with failover cluster. Some of the failover clustering performance counters in performance monitor includes are these, like cluster monitor message network messages, cluster network reconnections, global update manager, database, resources control, API, and cluster shared volume. So we have these options available, these counters available in the performance monitor. So we can monitor the performance of the cluster. We can open the performance monitor and we can add these counters there. These counters are available there. We can open the performance monitor and check the performance of the cluster, so that we can be aware about the cluster health. And whenever something is going to be wrong, like if suppose something is happening on the load on the network, or something is on the database or shared volume, so we can prepare the before the failure. We can prepare it before the failure. So we have to always do the monitoring here. And we know how we can get this. We can go to tool and we can open the performance monitor, and under the performance monitor we can see this is the current process, current performance. Now you can add counters related to cluster. So as we can see here, we have these counters related to cluster API calls, cluster handle, checkpoint manager, cluster shared volume, block redirection, coordination, file system, volume cache. So these all counters are related to clusters, so related to database, disk clusters. So all these monitors we can add them, so that we can monitor them, that what is happening to our cluster. We can add this, we can add this, we can add this, we can add this, and then we can see all of these here, and we can keep monitoring our cluster, what is happening to our cluster. Using the event viewer with failover cluster, event that are displayed in event viewer are required you to troubleshoot cluster includes cluster resources in clustered service or application failed, cluster network interface for cluster node on the network failed, file share witness resources failed to arbitrate for the file share, cluster node was removed from the active failover cluster membership, the cluster service failed to bring cluster service or application completely online offline, cluster network name resources failed registration of one or more active associated DNS name, cluster network name resource cannot be bought online. These all kind of errors we will see in the event viewer, and we have to fix it manually. So event viewer only show you the event errors, we have to fix it manually here. Then these are the Windows PowerShell troubleshooting commandlets we have. These are the common commandlets for the troubleshooting of failover cluster, like get the cluster to check the cluster thing, get cluster access, get cluster diagnostic, group, log, network, resource dependency report, VM monitoring cluster, test the cluster and test the cluster resources failure. Then implementing the site high availability with stretch clustering. Now stretch clustering, what is this? What is the stretch clustering means? Stretch clustering is a cluster that has been extended so that different nodes in the same cluster resides in the separate physical location. That means we stretch the cluster, single cluster, from one location to other location, one side to other side. So one node will be in one side and the other node will remain on the other side. Now what we will get with this? This is called stretch cluster, but what we will get this? We will get the more robustness, we will get the more redundancy, because if suppose something happened to this particular site, then still the other site will be available. For example, if suppose one site hits by the disaster we can say environmental disaster, food, flood, fire or something, then the other site will still be available. Other site, that means it is in the other city or even in the other country also. Prerequisites for the implementing a stretch cluster. To implement a stretch failover cluster, you must ensure the following. What? We plan for additional hardware to support enough nodes on each site. Then ensure that the same operating system and service packs are installed on each node. Then include at least one low latency and reliable network connection between sites. Then configure a storage replication mechanism. Configure storage infrastructure services on each site. Now synchronizing and synchronous and asynchronous replication. Replication means what? Replicating one information from one storage to other storage. That is actually copying. So in synchronous replication, the host receives a write complete response from the primary storage after the data is written successfully to both the storage locations. Now remember, the site is in the other location, the other site is in other location. So for this site we will use the data storage here, and for the other site we use the other data storage which is connected to this other storage. Both storage will be connected and the storage will be replicating the data from one storage to other storage. We can use the storage in the single site also, but it will again do the same single site failure. So we don't want to lose everything, server nodes and also data, so we will put the data on both the sites. Site A we will put the data, same data we will put on the site B. Now whatever we make changes on site A data, that changes must be replicated to site B data. So we have to configure the replication. We have to configure the data replication from this data on site 1 to site 2 also. Now in that we have synchronous and asynchronous replication. So synchronous replication, that means what? The host receive the write complete response from the primary storage after the data is written successfully to both storage location. That means when we add some data into this primary data, so it will not be complete until it will also written into the secondary storage on the other side. When both the site data, primary and secondary, will be written completely, then only it will get the response saying that the data is written. It is written. Otherwise it will say that it is writing, it is writing. It will get successful only when both the data is written on both the sites. It is synchronous. In asynchronous replication, the host receive a write complete response from the primary storage after the data is written successfully on the primary storage. That means when you write anything, when you add something in the data, so the data will be written on the primary storage first, and it will get the complete option. It will get the successfully message after completing the writing on the data primary storage. So when the primary storage is completed, then it will get the response that it is successfully written. But it will write the data after some time in the secondary storage. That means first it is written in the primary storage completely, then it is going to replicate based on our policy to the secondary storage. This is asynchronous. So overview of this storage replication feature. So used for the disaster recovery or preparedness. Configure via failover cluster manager or Windows PowerShell. Also, the three replication scenarios are stretch cluster, server to server, and cluster to cluster also. That means we can use the stretch cluster option where we can stretch the cluster from one side to other side. Then we can use the server to server also scenario where the server is here replicating the data to the other server, or the whole cluster data will be replicated to other cluster. Replicate synchronously or asynchronously option we have, and requires Windows Server 2016 Data Center Edition. Then also it requires the GPT partitioning style. So we have to initialize the disk into GPT, otherwise it will not work. So storage replication is important, synchronous or asynchronous, whether we use synchronous or asynchronous. So in synchronous, what happened when the data completely written on both the sides, then only it will say it is successful, and asynchronous it will write the data first in the primary side and then it will say successful, and then it is going to update on that secondary side. If you go by the number, what happened, the application in the primary side, what do it will send the server cluster data, it will return into the log, and then the data is going into the database, the storage. Also at the same time it is going to the store into the other site. So as you see, at the same time it is writing the data. You can see number 2, it is writing the data on this site storage and also in that site storage. And when it is completed on both the side, it will send the response, the other cluster send the response to this site, and then it will send the response to the application that okay, the data is written. In asynchronous mode, when the data is written to the cluster through the application, so data will be written on the primary site here. You can see the number 2, and then it will send the response that okay, data is written here to the application. Then the data will go on to write on the other site. You can see server 2, number 4 is going here in server cluster on the other side. And this is what storage replication from site 1 to site 2. Hyper-V stretch cluster supports synchronous replication only. Now if we create Hyper-V stretch cluster, so if we are using the cluster for Hyper-V and we are using the Hyper-V cluster, then it only supports the synchronous replication, and it do only synchronous replication. It will not support the asynchronous replication, because on Hyper-V we are having what, the virtual machines, and virtual machine needs the data continuously. So very simple. And server to server storage replication, here in server to server it supports both synchronous and asynchronous replication. It will share the storage from one server storage to other server, and we can use it to SMB. We can use the SMB also to share the replication from one storage to other storage. Then storage replication from cluster to cluster, it supports synchronous replication only, and it will synchronize the whole cluster storage to the other server, other site. Suppose one site is in New York, so other site may be on Boston, so the whole storage for the cluster will be replicated to the other site. We can use the replication over SMB. Now if you are using the stretch cluster, then we should select the proper quorum also, quorum mode. So selecting the quorum mode for a stretch cluster, because remember the cluster is stretched to the other site, other country, other city. So quorum must be available to the other country, other site also. So we can choose file share witness. File share witness, where we can use a share folder as a quorum witness. So requires 3 or more data center locations. It at least require more than 3 or more data center location, and it is available in Windows Server 2012 R2 and Windows Server 2016, which we can use to have file share as a witness. We can also use the Azure Cloud Witness. Azure Cloud Witness, that means we can create the witness, a cluster witness on the Azure cloud services. It requires 2 data center locations and requires internet connection for all nodes, so that the nodes can do the connection to get the access of to have a connection to the cloud. Then is available in Windows Server 2016 only. That means we can create this only in Windows Server 2016. Then no witness. It is not recommended, but it will have manual failover, disaster recovery site, because when we use no witness, no quorum, then there is no automatic failover. We have to manually do the failover. We have to manually move the services and application from one failed node to other node. Now these are some challenges we have for deploying the stretch cluster. When deploying stretch cluster, first ensure that the business requirements are met. So our business requirement must be met to do the stretch clustering, and use a storage replication between sites. It is hardware vendor which only supports Windows Server 2012 R2 or earlier, and storage replica Windows Server 2016 only. For hardware vendor, hardware replication, we can support Server 2012 also, but for storage replica we can have Server 2012. In Server 2012 it supports. We have to choose the proper quorum, correct quorum witness, to properly maintain the functionality in the event of failures. So we have to choose a proper quorum option also. Then choose the correct storage replication solution to meet the need for storage replication, because storage replication is very important here. Then we are having multi-site. So multi-site failover and failback also consider when implementing the stretch cluster in disaster recovery scenario. We have to consider this, the failover time also. That means how much time it will take from one service to go down and get back up from the other side. Services for failover, that what services are we need to have a failover from one side to other side. Then we have to maintain the quorum also. Storage connection must be available continuously. Published services and name resolution also. Client connectivity must be there, like client must be connected to both the sides. Then failback procedure also be configured. So this is the this is a managing failover cluster. How we can manage the failover cluster. We have seen how we can do some troubleshooting. We can do we can configure the properties of the cluster servers, services, nodes, and others. The quorum also, and also we can have a failover stretch cluster where we can stretch the cluster from one side to other side also.